disciplines of horticulture. She has guided 10 MSc students as a major advisor and 15 MSc students as minor advisor. She has 35 research publications, 20 popular articles, and 2 book chapters in the field of horticulture. And she is the life member of Indian Society of Citriculture and also Society for Promotion of Horticulture and Trends in Biosciences and also Advances in Life Sciences. With this brief introduction, I introduce our speaker, and also I request our madam to proceed further for the program, that is the lecture on banana morphology.
Unmute yourself. Good evening, my dear students. And today's lecture is on the banana plant morphology. So as you all know that phytomorphology means it is the study of the physical form and the external structure of the plant, that is the banana plant, and this is highly useful for its identification. And banana, its botanical name is, there are 2 types of bananas, that is desert banana and also cooking banana. And this desert banana is botanically known as Musa sapientum, and this one cooking banana is Musa paradisiaca. And these 2 are evolved from this crossing between these 2 wild species, Musa acuminata and Musa bulbiciana. And this banana, it belongs to the family Musaceae, genus Musa, and its origin is from Southeast Asia. Coming to its chromosomal number, it contains diploids, triploids, and also tetraploids. And this chromosomal number N is 11. So coming to this structure of the plant, if you see the banana, here you can see the plant. It looks like a tree, but it is a perennial herb. It is not a tree. Why it is called as a herb? Because it doesn't have any woody tissues, and also the fruit bearing stem, it dies down after the growing season. And coming to its perennial nature, in this, the propagating structure, it is suckers. Suckers means the shoots which are arising from the lateral buds present on the rhizome. And these lateral buds, they take over and develop into fruit-bearing stems. So that's why it is called as perennial in nature. What looks like a trunk, it is not a woody stem. So what is it? It is called as a pseudostem. It is a compact assemblage of overlapping and spirally arranged leaf sheaths. And also the true stem is generally it is seen. The true stem, it is made up of 3 parts: the underground rhizome, and also the aerial stem to which the leaves are attached, and also the peduncle to which it is attached the inflorescence. And coming to this stem starts and the rhizome apical meristem. Here you can see the other name is comb also. You can generally refer as comb also. And the stem from where it starts, here the base of the comb you can see. And here the rhizome's apical meristem, and it grows inside the pseudostem and ends in the male bud. That means the true stem, it starts here from the apical meristem and then it grows inside this and it ends with the male bud. And wild species of bananas, they also form gametes, but unlike cultivated bananas, they also reproduce sexually since their flowers are fertile. And pollination is required for the ovules to develop into seeds, and they in turn stimulates the pulp development in the fruit. These banana cultivars, they have flowers that are mostly sterile and produce fruits parthenocarpically in the absence of pollination. Mostly the male flowers are sterile. And here you can see the structure of the banana. This portion, underground portion, is known as the culm or the rhizome. And from this culm, the roots originate. And this from this lateral buds present on the culm or the rhizome, it gives rise to the sucker. It is the baby plant you can see here. And the stem, it is tightly clasped leaf sheaths. Here you can see. And inside this, you will find the true stem. And finally, after put forth of the maximum height and also the required number of leaves from the true stem, that peduncle, it comes out and it produces and also it gives the inflorescence, ultimately the fruits. This is how the banana plant looks. And here, if you see this root system, this banana plant, the plant generally, the root system is meant for taking up this water and nutrients from the soil. And here you can see this underground structure, which is called as the rhizome. From this portion, the roots are produced, and the primary roots will get originated from this rhizome, from the surface of the central cylinder part of the rhizome. And from that primary roots, the secondary and tertiary roots will originate. And here you can see the origin of the primary root from the surface of the central cylinder portion of the rhizome. And here, rhizome. What is rhizome means? As I told you earlier, it is also commonly known as corm or occasionally also sometimes bulb, but botanically the correct term is rhizome only. The rhizomes, how to characterize them means, generally they will take up this horizontal underground growth and they will produce these roots from the multiple nodes present on this rhizome. And from these nodes, you will find this production of clonal shoots also. So underground roots are produced, and above the ground portion from these multiple nodes, you will find this production of clonal shoots. And so the corms, on the other hand, they are, you can define them as vertical enlarged compact stems with a tunic of thin leaves and roots arising from a single node. And in the vegetative phase, the terminal growing point of the rhizome, which is known as from this apical meristem of the rhizome, it has the form of a flattened dome. And at the transition from the vegetative to the floral stage, the meristem area from the flattened dome, it assumes this convex shape and rises above the surrounding leaf bases. And flower bracts, they appear in place of leaves. Swellings which differentiate into female flowers, and then the female flowers, they will appear on this peduncle portion. And here you can see this rhizome. Rhizome is also known as the true stem of the plant. And on this rhizome, we'll find extremely short internodes, which are covered by closely packed.
Madam.
Yes, please. Closely packed leaf scars are also found. Here you can see they are differentiated into a central cylinder portion and also the cortex portion. And this brown tissue is commonly known as the starchy parenchyma. So it is nothing but a storage organ sustaining the life. Also, it helps in the providing the food to the developing suckers. And the terminal growing point, here you can see the terminal growing point, meristem portion, which is a flattened dough, and from which these leaves are formed, and later it becomes the inflorescence. And coming to this root system, it is adventitious root system, and it is mostly confined to the upper 40 centimeter of the soil. And here the roots originate in groups of 3 to 4 from the calm as the primary roots, and from these primary roots they will branching off to secondary and also to these tertiary roots. And for this, it is important for the rhizome to remain completely below the surface of the soil during its entire growth period. Suppose if it doesn't happen, what happens is a phenomenon known as high mat arises. That what happens is the rhizome is climbing out of the soil, and it will result in the plant instability, and also there will be a decline in exposure of roots. So at the time of planting itself, care must be taken to see that the entire portion of the rhizome is buried into the soil. And next portion, that morphological character, the structure is pseudostem. Here you can see the cross section of the pseudostem in the photograph. It is a part that looks like a trunk, and this one is the false stem. How it is formed is, here you can see the tightly packed overlapping leaf sheaths. Here you can observe, and it will continue to grow in height, the pseudostem, and as the leaves they emerge one after the other and reaches its maximum height. And when the stem it has been developing inside the pseudostem, that is the true stem, and then it emerges at the top of the plant. And here, even though the pseudostem is very fleshy and it consists of mostly of this water, it is quite sturdy and it can support a bunch that weighs 50 kg or more. That is the strength of the pseudostem. And coming to the true stem portion, here you can see that the clasping leaf sheaths are all removed, and the true stem, here you can see the close view along with the rhizome and also the peduncle bearing the hands and also the fingers present on the hands. And here the true stem, it will provide support to the leaves and also to the flowers as well. And these some of the flowers will develop into fruits. The leaves and flowers, they are attached to a node, and the sections between the nodes are internodes. And here you can see the nodes as well as the internodes that are present on the stem. And the stem is subdivided into 3 parts majorly. Here you can see this black portion of that is the known as this underground rhizome part, and this white portion, it is the aerial stem, and this is the peduncle, is the stalk, fruit stalk bearing the fruits. So here the aerial stem, it begins to develop after the formation of flowers on the rhizome's apical meristem, which we cannot see visually, but it is clearly told that the aerial stem, it begins to develop only after the formation of flowers on the rhizome's apical meristem. So as it develops, it carries the inflorescence and also the leaf bases upwards inside the pseudostem. And when the aerial stem, it emerges at the top of the plant, it is called the peduncle or the fruit bearing stalk. And the aerial stem, it is often called the floral stem also, but it is a wrong notion that the flowers, they are attached to the peduncle, not to the aerial stem. Only the leaves are attached to the aerial stem, but it appears, if you observe it externally, it appears like that, but it's not true. And coming to this leaf part, as we all know, it is the main photosynthetic organ, and every leaf, it will emerge from the center of the pseudostem. How it will emerge is a rolled cylinder. And here the distal end of this elongated leaf sheaths. Here you can see the distal end of the elongating leaf sheath, and it will contract into a petiole portion, and it is more or less open depending upon the cultivar. And here every leaf, it will have the this petiole only. After growing to certain length, it will become the midrib. And what is this midrib is, it will be divided into two lamina halves. So the upper surface of the leaf is called the adaxial, while the lower one is called the abaxial surface. And here another important point is here the scale leaves and also the foliage leaves. The first rudimentary leaves which are produced by the growing sucker, they are called the scale leaves. And whereas the mature leaves, which will consisting of the sheath, petiole, midrib and blade, they are called the foliage leaves. And here also you can see on this leaf blade, veins, they will run parallel to each other in a long S shape from midrib to margin. And here you don't find any branching of the veins, and it will result in leaves tearing easily whenever the winds, they get exposed to the severe winds. And here the size of the leaves, generally they will increase before flowering, but they culminate to a small flag leaf accompanying the inflorescence. And also you can see the leaves emerging alternatively from the outer periphery of the heart of the rhizome. They will develop afterwards from the inner periphery of the heart, and it will protrude to the previously developed leaf sheath in tightly rolled condition. Till how long? Till fruit rachis is developed. So this is how it maintains a sturdy column of the pseudostem, and it gives the strength to the plant to stand on its own. So on emergence from this pseudostem, the young leaves, they will unroll at an interval of 7 to 10 days. The average number of leaf production per plant, generally it will range from 40 to 50. And coming to this leaf shape, it will have the long elliptical petiole ending in a leaf sheath encircling the pseudostem. And also a fully grown plant, generally it will retain 12 to 15 effective leaves up to maturity to have the effective photosynthesis. And these flowers, they are generally born in the axils of brightly colored bracts, and they are generally purplish to reddish purple color. And these flowers on the basal side of the peduncle, generally we'll find three types of flowers. Generally at the basal side of peduncle, they are the pistillate ones, whereas the terminal ones are the staminate ones, and the intermediate ones are the hermaphrodite, but they are functionally male only. And here the fruit set occurs, that is parthenocarpically, and pollination is not required. And the size of the leaves will increase before flowering, but finally they culminates. And a fully grown plant, generally it maintains this. Effective leaves will be 12 to 15 up to the plant it reaches the maturity. And another term here used is the cigar leaf. So the cigar leaf means generally here a recently emerged leaf which is still rolled as a cylinder. Here you can see in the picture, this is known as the cigar leaf. And the time, that is the lapse of time in which a leaf unfolds, it varies. Depending upon the favorable climatic conditions, it varies. Suppose there are favorable conditions, it takes about 7 days, but generally under poor conditions, it takes about 15 to 20 days. And generally the new leaf is tightly coiled one, colored will be whitish, and particularly it will be fragile in nature, very delicate. The extension at the tip of the leaf is called the, here you can see the extension at the tip of the leaf, which is called as the precursory appendage. And after emergence, it withers and falls off. And next structure is that sucker. And generally, sucker, from where it develops it is the lateral shoot which develops from the rhizome, and generally it emerges close to the parent plant. And here there are different terms used in case sucker plants. That is the peeper one. What is peeper? Peeper means the just emerged sucker through the soil surface. It is known as the peeper. And whereas this fully grown sucker bearing foliage leaves is called the maiden sucker. And morphologically, there are two types of suckers in banana. One is known as the sword sucker and the other one is the water sucker. Generally, sword suckers, they possess narrow leaves and also large rhizome. Whereas water suckers, they will have the broad leaves and also small rhizome. And these water suckers, they have weak connection to the parent plant, and so they will not develop into a strong plant. So only sword suckers are preferred for taking up the fresh planting. The number of suckers produced, it varies with the type of cultivar. And generally, we'll use first ratoon, second ratoon like that after the first planting is over, harvest is over. The sucker that is selected to replace the parent plant after fruiting, it is called the follower or ratoon sucker. And here, suckers, here you can see the picture. What is a maiden sucker, that fully grown one. And this is the sword sucker. Sword sucker, it will have the narrow leaves and also the larger size rhizome is present. And peeper is the one just emerging one from the soil. And the water suckers, they are generally produced a little bit away from the mother plant and they will have the broader leaves and also have the weak rhizome. So they are not generally preferred. They are not ideal for planting. And several suckers, they are produced on the rhizome, and the whole unit or the clump, it is generally known as the mat. And when a sucker is planted and the first bunch is harvested, it is known as the plant crop. And after harvesting this first harvest of this plant crop is over, the mother plant is cut down and a follower or daughter sucker is selected. Generally, sword sucker is selected to produce the second harvest. That is known as the first ratoon. And also sometimes under favorable conditions and good nutrient and also the management conditions are there, even the third harvest also gives the good crop, which is known as second ratoon. Like that, the terminology is used to mention these ratoons. And here you can see, as we all know, that banana is propagated by generally through suckers and also through rhizome. And here tissue culture is nowadays becoming, it has become popular. Everyone is going for it only for taking up this planting. And generally, if you see the difference between the sword suckers and also the water suckers, leaves are pointed, narrow and upright in case of sword suckers, whereas they are broader, spreading with roundish tip in case of water suckers. And this rhizome, it is conical with sound heart, and rhizome generally healthy, and rhizome is flat with non-sound heart, and growth is vigorous and fast in case of sword suckers, whereas it is slow in case of water suckers. Generally 11 months it takes to come to this harvesting age, and it takes about 15 months. That means it waits late. And so considering all these characters, generally sword suckers are best compared to these water suckers. But nowadays, the method of propagation is only the tissue culture, which is a very popular one. And here you can see the photograph showing the sword suckers on this left side and also the water suckers on the right side. And next part is this inflorescence. So here you can see this inflorescence and also the different parts of the inflorescence we will see. It is a complex structure and it includes the flowers and ultimately which will develop into fruits. So here one botanical term is used for the banana inflorescence. It is the tertiary. Means an inflorescence in which this main axis will continue to grow that is the peduncle, it will continue to grow, and these lateral branches, they will have the determinate growth. And the types of flowers are also, the main types of flowers are the female flowers. They will be developing into the fruits, and also the male flowers, which are sterile in nature, are also produced at the distal end. And coming to this hermaphrodite or neutral flowers, they may be present on these rachis, that is the stalk between the female flower and the male bud, but they are non-functional. And here the peduncle, it will elongate as the flower opens in the sequence. And I'll show you the photograph also. And here you can see this structure of the inflorescence. And here this purple color one is known as the bract, enclosing the flowers, female flowers. And here you can see it is also known as the spathe also. And these are the flowers. And here you can see this bisexual flowers, how it looks. Here it will have this labellum, which is a lip-like structure, and this one is the ovary. And here it is inferior, generally ovary, and above which all these flower parts are arranged. That's why it is known as inferior. And here you can see the stigma, and this one, and also the anthers 5 number. And here both the sepals and petals are fused together. That's why they are known as these tepals, outer tepal and also the inner tepal. Here you can see the fused tepals and also the labellum. It is generally used for attracting the insects and helps in pollination in most of the flower crops. And also here you can see this stamens portion. I need not tell, it is all from your intermediate level itself. You will be knowing that part of this stamen having the filament and also the anthers. Here you can see the trilocular ovary, and you can see these carpels also 3 types. And this is the floral diagram of these bisexual flowers. And here you can see this, it is bracteoid, and also this bisexual flower, and this is known as the perianth, where the calyx as well as the corolla, they are fused together. And here you will find this again 3 + 2, that is 5 are fused together and 1 is independent. And another one is this stamens are this antecium. It is also seen 6 in number, 3 + 3 separately you can see. And this gynoecium is also this inferior and having the trilocular ovary and fused together. This is briefly this inflorescence of the banana, you can see. And coming to these female flowers, they appear first. Here you can see the first opening of this inflorescence, where you will find the female flowers which have developed into the fruitlets. Here you can see the baby bananas here, and this one is the spathe. And in cultivated bananas, the ovary, it will develop into this seedless fruit by parthenocarpy without taking place of this pollination. And what is bract means, generally it is a modified leaf which is associated with the reproductive structure. And it will expose the cluster of female flowers that are normally arranged in 2 rows. And as I told you earlier in the diagram itself, the female flowers have inferior elongated trilocular ovary and with 3 fused carpels bearing 6 petals, that are 5 are free and 1 is fused, and also it is surrounding the thick style and non-functional staminodes. These flowers, they will develop into a hand of fruit. So here the entire part is known as the one hand. And here the number of hands in the bunch, it will depend upon the number of female clusters in the inflorescence. And generally it varies. Number of hands, it will vary depending on the genotype and also the environmental conditions. And here also you can see the close view of the female flower and also the style and stigma and also the fused tepals and free tepal, this one is, and these are the fused ones, and also these are the staminodes, and this is the ovary part having this pedicel. And staminate flowers, generally this they are sterile in nature, and female flowers develop into the fruits. The distal portion of the inflorescence will elongate and it will produce, here you can see this is the distal end. It will produce clusters of male or the staminate flowers that will produce the pollen. The amount of pollen produced is very less, or it may be absent also in cultivated bananas. And these male flowers, they will have the small ovary and slender style and 5 stamens with long anthers that may or may not produce pollen. And here you can see the male bud and also the male flowers, anthers, filament, and also the pollen grains. And this is also another picture showing this male flowers close to and also the female flowers. And next one is the peduncle. It is the fruit stalk. So the stalk, it will supporting the inflorescence. Here you can see this one is the peduncle. The stalk between the leaf crown and also the first hand of the fruit. This is the leaf crown and also the first hand of the fruit. That is known as the peduncle. And whereas the stalk that actually supports the female and male flowers is called the rachis. So in between this female and male flowers, you will find this rachis. So the peduncle, it will extend to the meristem in the male bud. So up to the end of this male bud production, it is generally seen the peduncle extension. And generally it is composed of 3 sections. It is divided into 3 sections. One is that transitional peduncle, and the other one is female peduncle, and also the male peduncle. And coming to this, what is transitional peduncle? Here you can see that the portion of this portion, that is that supports the organs that are in transition from leaves to bracts. Sterile nodes with a bract that abscesses at branch emergence generally, and it will be corresponding to that what is traditionally called the peduncle. And this female peduncle, it will support the female flowers that develop into fruits. And generally bunch means the entire portion is known as the bunch, starting from this peduncle portion to the end of this bud. And it is generally a descriptive term. It will be including all these fruits. In this, the fruits are arranged into hands, and also the former clusters of the flowers that were each subtended by a bract. So the fruits in a hand are often called the fingers. These are all the various terms, botanical terms used in banana morphology. And coming to this male peduncle, generally male peduncle, it will supporting the male flowers in the male bud. So it corresponds that what is traditionally called the rachis. Generally, it is an ambiguous term in botany because it is used in relation to both vegetative and reproductive parts, the term rachis. But whereas the term peduncle, it is only used for the stems that support the flowers. And the part above the male bud can be bare or covered with persistent bracts. And also the scars or the nodes, they will indicate where the bracts were attached and on this peduncle. And the male peduncle, it will continues to grow as the fruits are maturing. And this male bud, it will contain a cluster of male flowers, and each cluster is again subtended by a bract, which is a modification of the leaf itself. And in some cultivars, it ceases to grow after the fruits have set, and it can be more or less exhausted by the time the bunch it reaches the maturity. The presence or absence of male bud is one of the traits used to distinguish the cultivars. And then coming to these fruits, they are, it is a berry, commonly botanically termed as a fleshy berry, which is developed parthenocarpically. And these fruits are called as fingers, which are borne on hands. Generally, this bunch, it will contain 4 to 10 or more hands with 50 to 150 fingers, and in total, every bunch. And these ovaries of the female flowers, they will develop into seedless fruits by parthenocarpy. And these aborted ovules are seen as small brown sacs in the center of the fruit. And these, as I told you, these nodes which are present in this, the nodal clusters of these rows of female flowers, which is known as the hand, and also the individual fruits will be developing from the female flower. And it is each individual flower, it will be developing into a fruit, which is known as the finger. And also the number of hands per bunch and also fingers per hand is determined at the flower initiation itself by the number of female flowers that are produced, genome group under which it comes, and the crop cycle that is followed, like it is first crop, plant crop, first return, second return, also it will be influencing, and also the temperature under which the crop is being grown, and the vigor of the plant, that also the vegetative growth of the plant also will be influencing the number of hands per plant, and also the level of management also strongly influences the production of number of hands per bunch. And to distinguish the varieties from one another, generally the bunch position and the appearance of bunch and also the shape of bunch, they are also used to distinguish these varieties one from the other. And also the weight of bunch is taken at harvest to determine the yield. And the other post-harvest traits taken into consideration for this distinguishing of the varieties are number of hands, finger length, finger circumference, peel pulp ratio, pulp color, texture of this pulp, dry matter content, nutrient content, and so on. These are all the various traits that are taken into consideration for distinguishing these varieties. So Simmons and Shepard in the year 1995, they have devised one method of indicating the relative contribution of two wild species, that is Musa acuminata and Musa balbisiana, to the constitution of any cultivar through the scoring technique of certain morphological characters. And this scoring technique is used or applied the derived information for distinguishing the Musa acuminata type from this Musa balbisiana type of these cultivars. And based on this, they have identified these 15 diagnostic characters to distinguish between this Musa acuminata and Musa balbisiana. And for each character, here you can see the 15 characters mentioned. And for each character in which the cultivar agreed with the wild Musa acuminata, the score of 1 was given. And for each character in which cultivar agreed with the wild balbisiana, the score 5 was given. And also the intermediate expressions of this character were assigned with the scores of 2, 3, or 4 according to the intensity. So they will be helping to derive that a particular variety or the cultivar, which one is closely related to this Acuminata or Balbisiana species. So here you can see that based on this morphological characters itself, they will be giving the scoring. And here you can see the pseudo-stem color is the first character. And here it is mentioned how the Musa acuminata wild species having this pseudo-stem color. Similarly, Musa balbisiana also mentioned. Based on this, they will give this scoring. That is, the marks will be allotted to that particular. And the maximum marks to which species, wild species, a particular variety it gets, then it is considered to be, it comes under that wild species. It is more closely related to that wild species. So here the pseudo-stem color, if you see, it is more or less heavily marked with black or brown blotches on the pseudo-stem color. Then scoring will go to this Musa acuminata. Similarly, if you see this Musa bulbis, suppose if that particular cultivar is closely related to Balbisiana, it will have the pseudo-stem color that will produce the blotches which are slight, and also sometimes these blotches are absent. Whereas in acuminata, they are more prominent and they are heavily marked. Here that is that. And the other one is petular canal is also observed on the margin. It is generally erect or spreading with scarious wings below and not clasping pseudostem. It is not closely adhered pseudostem. Whereas this here in this Balbisiana, margins enclosed, not wing below and clasping pseudostem. And coming to this peduncle, usually it will be downy or hairy nature, whereas it is glabrous nature in case of this Musa balbisiana. And pedicel, if you see this, leaf stalk, generally it will be short, and whereas it in Balbisiana, it will be long comparatively. And ovules, generally 2 regular rows in each locule are arranged in case of Musa acuminata, whereas 4 irregular rows in each locule are arranged in case of Balbisiana. And similarly, bract curling is also bracts, they roll after opening of these flowers. Generally, bracts life, but not they will roll. And also similarly, the bract shape is also generally seen. It is lanceolate generally, and also this protrudes ovate and also tapering. And whereas in case of this one, it is broadly ovate and also not tapering. And bract apex, how it is generally seen, it is acute tip. Acute means it will have this short and sharp pointed apex leaf will have, whereas in it is obtuse means generally it is blunt or rounded tip, it will have this bract apex. And bract color is red, dull purple or yellow outside one, and inside one, if you see, it is pink, dull purple or yellow inside. Whereas in case of Balbisiana, distinctive brownish purple outside and bright crimson inside. Color fading, if you observe, it is inside bract color, it fades to yellow towards the base, whereas in case of Balbisiana, inside bract color, it continues to base. And bract scars, if you observe, they are more prominent and they are scarcely prominent in case of Balbisiana. And the free tepal of male flower, if you see, variably corrugated below, whereas they are rarely corrugated. And male flower color, generally it will be creamy white in color. It is variably flushed with pink in case of Balbisiana. And stigma color, it is orange or rich yellow, whereas in Balbisiana, it is cream, pale yellow or pale pink. So like this, 15 characters, morphological characters are taken into consideration, and the constitution of any cultivar and its a relative contribution of these 2 wild species to this constitution of the cultivar is generally counted upon. And also this bract and male flower characters and consumption nature, generally the banana and plantain classification is made. So the table varieties are, which are commonly known as the desert type, and the bananas and cooking bananas, which are consumed after cooking, they are generally known as plantains. And they are given separate species status also. Their genera is same, but the species status is different. And these plantains, they will have persistent bracts and male flowers with large fruits and eaten after cooking. Whereas this desert ones, that is banana, they will have the small fruits, they are held compact in a bunch, and they will become soft when ripe with non-persistent bracts and also that male flower. And generally these plantains, they are the members of the banana family, but they are starchier and lower in sugar. And generally this plantains group, that is Bulbiciana group, is known to have more of this drought resistant and also this disease resistant when compared to this Acuminata type. And also when they are ripe, these plantains, they'll still be green in color. And they are cooked before serving, and because they are not consumed and they are not preferred, unsuitable and raw condition for consumption purpose. It is used in many savory dishes also, somewhat like potato. It is widely used, and popularly it is consumed making several dishes in Western Africa and also in these Caribbean countries. It is usually fried or baked products are prepared from these culinary varieties of this banana. And this is the distinguished characters, you can say the differences, that the plantains are more starchy and the bananas are sweet. When they ripe, they become more sweet, and also they emit this significant flavor also. This you will find used as a vegetable plantain, and it is eaten as a fruit. Generally, the plantain size is longer when compared to bananas. They are shorter than plantains. Plantains, they will have the thicker skin, the fruit, and they will have this thinner skin in case of bananas. Generally, though they are green, majority of these varieties, but we'll find green, yellow, or black ones also in case of these plantains. Color is green when not fully ripe, but yellow when ripe. So, students, this is a small topic on banana morphology. From next class onwards, we'll be moving into the deeply into this banana cultural practices, and also this latest developments in terms of its this propagation aspect, and also the management practices, and also the plant material we use, and this latest techniques developed in this cultural cultivation practices, and value addition, post-harvest management, and different processed products which we can make. The entrepreneurship and all this will be moving. So with this, we have come to this end of this topic, this small topic.
Any doubts? Any doubts from student side? From students? Please. So, if there is no doubts, on behalf of organizing committee COH-VR-Gudem, it is my privilege to extend our heartfelt thanks to Dr. M. Madhavi Madam, Associate Dean, College of Horticulture, Venkatramana Gudem, for explaining Madam, you explained the banana morphology in a very magnified manner, and you covered all the topics, and it is helpful and well understood by our students. Thank you, madam. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation and sparing your valuable time for presenting this topic. And I also express my sincere thanks to all the participants, especially students and all the staff members from different stations and colleges. And we are expecting the same support in the coming classes also. I thank once again all of you. Thank you very much. Jai Hind. With this, we conclude.
Thank you, Harsha.
Close.